Hello, everyone. This is Andre and Soli with Peace, Love, and Chocolate, our podcast. We are bringing back the family and bringing back traditional values. Today, we bring you the hot topic of
compromise. Today's episode is all about compromise, and I feel like it is kind of controversial. Our take on, well, not controversial, but unpopular, our take on compromise. But I hope you are able to learn something and that it will help improve your relationship or your marriage or your future marriage, especially. And, everybody always says compromise is key. And you need to learn the art of compromise, especially when you're about to get married. I feel like a lot of other married couples tell you, like, make sure you learn the art of compromise. It's really important. So, yeah, how do most approach this?
So I think that most people say that because let's start with the why. Why do most people approach it this way? I think it's because a lot of people don't know how to communicate. I don't think communication is learning how to communicate is a bad thing. I think it's a good thing to learn how to communicate, obviously. Not communicating based off of emotions or based off of whatever you feel in the moment, but communicating based off of what you know is true and not in the heat of the moment. That's the basis of communication, but most people can't or will not, can't or won't do that when they communicate, especially when they communicate with people that they love. They don't know how to communicate without bringing on the emotion or looking at things logically, understanding the other person's side. So I think because of that, we end up being able to not being able to communicate. Most people don't know how to communicate, and due to that fact, that's why I think most counselors and most people say communication is key. Learn how to communicate, and because most people don't know how to communicate, most people don't know how to say I disagree with this, or just bring things up, have courageous conversations. So I think that's the reason why people talk about compromise, and how do you think most people approach compromise?
Is that
That's a question for you.
how do I think most people approach it?
Yeah.
I think most people are just like, well, let's just meet in the middle. Let's find common ground. I think a lot of it has to do with bigger issues, especially in today's world. Things like finances or things like household chores, or when it comes to, whose family we will spend the holiday with. A lot of people choose to just find, common ground in those areas, and instead of, going like one person's way or the other person's way. So, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you think they do that? They do so like they split things down the middle, you think?
Yeah. I think they just say, okay, well, we'll do a little bit of what each of us wants to do. They just find common ground. Like, okay, we went to your in-laws this time. Next time we'll go to my parents or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So this dating expert, just for like a more clear picture of what compromise actually is, he says it's coming together and finding a solution agreeable to most parties, and it shows that the relationship itself is more important than being right all the time or always getting your own way. And then he says compromise usually involves assessing your priorities and focusing on what you value most. So this isn't about doing things you don't want to do or being unhappy. It just means taking what both of you need, valuing each other's opinions, and finding a way to meet in the middle, so that everyone's okay with the outcome. So Does valuing an opinion mean meeting in the middle? I don't think.
You read number 3?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I don't think. What do you think?
I think it's a slippery slope. If you think about compromising as coming in the middle, it's a slippery slope because it may be that most of the time or a lot of the time someone is just wrong. And for the sake of compromise, truth will be also compromised. And now if one person says, let's say one person says, you know what, the sky is blue, and the other person, no, the sky is definitely green. And then they're like, okay, and every day they go and they argue about it. If you compromise and meet in the middle, then you'll just completely, one day it'll be green and another day will be blue. And the reality of it is that no, the sky is not green. No matter how much you compromise, the sky is still not going to be green. And so you have to be very careful about the word compromise and being into the word compromise and that being the goal, because it doesn't always mean if you don't come to the same conclusion, it doesn't mean you don't value the other person's opinion. If it doesn't mean you don't value the other person's input.
I don't think the word compromised, I don't think we're here to necessarily demonize it, but I think we're here to show you the dangers of compromise and making decisions based off of, okay, well, let's just compromise. Or, just when you're in an argument and you decide the way to resolve that argument is compromise, or, trying to make a decision on what to do. And then you're just like, okay, well, let's just compromise. And so the idea is to have a win-win situation instead of a lose-lose situation. And I don't know if relationships, if it's about win-win, lose-lose. I think in our world, we see relationships almost as a competition. Like, like you're just competing against each other all the time. Like, did you do your part of the chores? Like, I did what I was supposed to do, and so like more points for me, or things like that. And I think sometimes in some situations, like, that people say, oh, well, we should just compromise. But sometimes the spouse or the other person in the relationship, like, can't see the vision of the other person, and their vision or what they want could be the right way, and what you want could be something that is a hindrance to the relationship. And so there's a couple problems with compromise and making it a foundational part of your marriage. And one is that it's not biblical. We like to add it. It's something that is an addition, but it's not something that the Bible mentions. There's nothing about compromise in marriage. And that being said, your relationships can live without compromise. You do not always have to find common ground on issues for your relationship to thrive. And this one lady, she says, as a Christian counselor, I have witnessed how the practice of holding on to oneself while learning to compromise with another is crucial in maintaining a loving, respectful, and fulfilling marriage. Now, the Bible is our basis for marriage because God is the creator of marriage. So we feel like he knows best. And he never ever talks about compromise. He talks about the husband leading and loving, the wife respecting, submitting. He talks about not depriving each other. He talks about training up children, raising children, things like that, but he never talks about compromise. So your relationship can and will thrive even if you don't have this concept of compromise.
Yeah, totally. I think that it's like Sully said, it's not about the specific compromise, or it's not about demonizing the word compromise because it can be a healthy part, and I think in most times it is a healthy part of a natural healthy part of marriage. But it's so much simpler, and it's so much more natural, and it's so much more effortless when you don't make it a priority. Because what can happen is that for the sake of compromise, like I said earlier, you're gonna lose where truth is, or right or wrong. And many times when it comes to very specific, strong issues, it's not good to compromise, because you need to say, no, this is the right way, and you don't even have to agree, right?
Yeah.
But what you do, not even compromise, but you just say, all right, you don't agree, especially when it's something moral, or something where the family is going a certain way, and God is leading the man a certain way, which means he's leading the family in a certain way too. And so therefore, Soli knows in this instance, she knows, okay, then her role is to submit and say, all right, here we go, even if she doesn't agree, right? And that's not necessarily compromise, because compromise would be her saying, you know what, all right, and then next time, like, I want to do something, then I'll do it.
I'll
and then,
make the decision.
Yeah.
Or I get the first
yeah. And it's-
dibs.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
not the way it works, and that's not the way it should work in a Christian marriage.
Yeah. So one of the problems is that, society, like we said, everybody says
Sorry.
it's imperative that you learn to compromise, because if not, like these people are saying, this lady, it's crucial to maintaining a loving, respectful, and fulfilling marriage. But one of the problems with compromise is that it does not teach the art of selflessness necessarily, because you're still getting some of what you want, even if which might be a good example of compromise to an extent. Okay, so last time we watched an action-packed, gruesome, fighting movie. Okay.
What movie was it?
It's just
just
there's
an
no
example.
specific. Next time, okay, Soli doesn't love those movies. Okay, next time we'll watch a happy rom-com or something. Okay, so in a way, that's compromise. That's normal. It's normal to be like, okay,
And it's trivial too.
and it's trivial as well. However, it doesn't necessarily teach. Does this make sense? Like, it doesn't necessarily teach 100% selflessness, because it's like, okay, well then next time we'll go back to what I want, and next time we'll go back to what he wants. And this is such
Yeah.
a trivial example, but
But if you're keeping tabs on each other,
yeah, then
It's
that kind
not
of
the
goes
right
back to like that
attitude.
whole competition thing, like.
yeah,
And I think especially the heart behind it, like, if it's a heart of like, fine, like, we'll do what you want, and next time we'll do what I want, because, that sense of entitlement.
One thing I want to say about that, it goes back to forgiveness, because in marriage and in every relationship and every friendship you'll ever have, there's always going to be letdowns, or you're going to feel let down by the other person, where when they do something and you were expecting something different, and pretty much all the time it's because you made those expectations in your head of what the other person should do, and when the other person doesn't meet your expectations, you're just let down, and you feel like, they just wronged me. But if they didn't do it personally, sometimes there's an issue, and it's good to speak out and say it without anger, and say, hey, listen, I think you did this wrong, or you did this wrong, and let's talk about it. Let's see how we can not do this in the future. That's a good thing. But once it's dealt with, or if it's something that where you were wrong and feeling that way, and you just realize the other person just wasn't thinking about it at all, it didn't mean to wrong you, then it's good to forgive quickly and move on from it right away, and not realize that the other person is not out to get you. They're not trying to hurt you. They're not trying to do something against you. It's just the way that life is. Sometimes people let down your expectations because you made them up in your head. And so as soon as you can, as soon as you realize that you made that expectation in your head, move on right away. Deal with it with a loving heart, move on right away and forgive. And that way you don't remember the next time it comes through. You're not like, you always do this. That's a sign that you have not let go of things in the past you should have already forgotten about. Because whatever wrong someone does to you, it should be over. It doesn't even exist anymore. If you keep doing that for years and years and years, it wears you out. I mean, and it could wear you out in a matter of weeks. When you go through something week in, week out, or you set up expectations, the other person is consistently letting you down, whether they're good or bad expectations, you're wearing all that on your shoulders, and you have a heavy heart, and you're not able to move on and forgive. And living like that is not good. So it does go back to forgiveness. This idea of like keeping tabs on each other and saying, well, next time you pay me back, I'll pay you back real quick. That if you live life in that way, it's just so much more heavy.
Yeah, and we know that one of the most important pieces of not just the marriage relationship, but any relationship, our relationship with others in the world, is all about selflessness. So it's really important that our marriage, we're using that as kind of, I don't know if vessel is the right word, but as a kind of vessel or place to cultivate, like being more like Christ and learning selflessness. And if your relationship is about, well, I still want to get what I want, I'm still going to get what I want, even if you say like, oh, like we're compromising, like it's fine in that moment because you're getting some of what you want.
Yeah, totally.
So,
or that you're going to get your way after.
Exactly. And the other issue is that it doesn't teach trust. And this is a really big one, especially for that biblical model of marriage that we strive to live by. Generally, all trivial examples aside, like the big important issues, generally Andre is the final say on those things. We usually agree. We have the same,
that's why we married each other,
vision for life. We have the same goals. We want the same things, but it's not always the things that we do to get there are not always things that I would have chosen for myself. I probably would handle our finances completely differently, but Andre knows better. And if we had it my way, we probably wouldn't have as much money as we have right now. And we didn't compromise. We haven't compromised on finances. And I'm not strong with finances at all either, so it's mostly left up to him anyways. But it's not like, okay, I don't like credit cards at all, you guys. Like, I came from a Dave Ramsey household.
Yeah.
And
he's good though. Look him up. He's good.
Yes, he is, especially if you are
if you have debt at all.
If you have debt and or need financial guidance. Andre, he likes credit cards. And I know that he is wise. I know that he is not trying to lead our family down a bad path. I know that he's well educated, well learned, blah, blah, blah. Even if I didn't know all those things and he still was like, I know this is what's best for our family to provide, to bring us to that future that we want, that God is leading us to.
Yeah.
I'm not getting no credit cards. We use credit cards. And you know what? It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay because it teaches me to trust him more because I know that he's wise. He's leading our family. He's being led by God.
A little caveat for that. We don't hold credit card debt. It's not like we're just racking up credit card debt. So it's not to pay bills or anything. It's just to use them for the rewards basically, and then pay them off right away.
We could do a whole episode about that.
Yeah.
Most of it would go over my head, maybe over your head.
I just didn't want people to think that he's just
Yeah.
racking up that.
No, he's very wise. I think it would be different. I don't know if it would be different. It wouldn't be very very easy for me to trust necessarily if we were in like financial
Yeah.
troubles
Yeah.
um
Yeah, totally. But and that this is something for the guys out there. I think it's good, find a wife like Soli, in the sense that she is very, she will trust me as the husband. Women are always like this. They're women will trust, but they'll always like or like I don't want to do that, or like inside there's always
that's
this
why you have to pray.
yeah, there's always a turmoil inside of them. But at the end of the day, Sully is always trusting. And so when you find a woman like that, it's really easy to lead. But it's also a good thing to listen, and to take, because I take Sully's opinion and I love hearing her opinion.
I'm not a doormat, contrary to Pop, you know.
I like to.
Yeah.
I enjoy listening to her opinion. I enjoy knowing what she thinks about things, and I'm like, "What do you think about this? What do you think?" I ask her for her opinion all the time.
A lot of
because
times I don't
she's-
even have an opinion because I don't know what he's talking about.
because she's a smart woman. She's wise. She's a wise woman, and of course, when a guy like me, when a man like me has a wife that will listen and has good input, I want to listen. But she's right. At the end of the day, I have the last call. I'm the one who has to answer to God. So because of that, it's not. I think a lot of people just listen to this type of stuff and they just immediately go, "But what if you have a bad husband?" Don't marry a bad husband.
I know. Don't marry a bad guy.
Don't
He's
marry
not
a
going to
bad-
change. If you can't trust him now, if you don't think you could 100% follow him in the direction that your family
Yes.
that you need to go, don't why would you
And
why
don't
would you-
hope that in the future you will be able to.
it is so imperative, especially for girls, to marry a man that they can trust, because when it comes down to making decisions, even the trivial decisions, if he says, "No, this is the right way," you have to say, "Okay, I trust you." And the reason why I can trust Andre so much is because I know that he's being led by the Holy Spirit, and I know that he's not just making decisions for our family out of selfish intent. And there are some things that you cannot and should not compromise on. And especially in this marriage relationship, if the husband is leading the family and he says, "This is the way," you as the wife, you just might not get your way. But that's also the beauty of trusting your husband and also being able to pray and say, "Okay, God, I trust you. I trust you, God, that you know what's best, and you will direct him. Even if this turns out being the wrong way, it's not a I told you so moment. It's okay, well, then we're
Let's
just
figure out
going
where
a
to go."
different
Yeah.
way." But there are some things that you should not compromise on. And I think us women really have to be okay with not getting our way, not compromising, because like I said, it doesn't breed trust. And if you are that upset, that anxious about not having your way, that's a heart issue. That's selfish. And you need to trust that your husband is not being selfish when he says, "This is the right way for our family." And the last problem that we have with compromise is that it makes the relationship all about equality.
Oof.
Ooh, this is a little bit I don't
Another
know,
controversy.
spicy. Yeah, because our relationships, our marriage relationships especially, are not about equality. Equality is not the end goal. And from what I've seen on the internet and just in the world in general, is that
In the church, too.
and in the church as well, a lot of people I don't even know why, but it's like their end goal is about equality.
Yeah.
So everything they do in their relationship revolves around
That's so
equal like treatment. Like, you know, you have your own dreams and desires. He has his own dreams and desires. And the idea is that you guys each keep your own dreams and desires and
At the same time,
stay
and
happy,
unite.
as
Yeah.
opposed to like, you know, having to drop some dreams to make the relationship work. Or you know, when it comes to paying for things, a lot of times even married couples will have
Totally.
separate bank accounts, and then it's like, you paid for this, I paid for this, we're equal. Like, you do these household chores, I do these household chores, and we have the
Yeah.
same equal amount of work in the house, and everything is like, I don't even know why, like it's almost as if what is the point, what is the purpose of their relationship being all about equality? And so that's part of where the idea of compromise comes in, because what we just talked about with him being the spiritual leader is not equality.
doesn't
But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't register
It doesn't,
in our
no.
brains anymore. It's not it's like Sully said, it's not a goal. It would be like saying, how can we make a monkey or like a gorilla equal to a whale? It's like, no, they're going to behave completely different because they're two different beings. God created them to be different. And in the same way, God created men and women to be different. So we are going to have different roles. We're going to have different things to do. We're going to have different ways to deal with life.
Yeah.
And we're going to have different leadership roles. And
Yeah.
you know, the man is going to be the leader in the home. And that is something that I think is very good to learn, no matter what your attitude is, no matter how you were raised up. If you become of God, He is going to teach you as the man to be a good leader. And He's going to teach you not to be overbearing, not to use excessive force, to be mean, to be rude. He's going to teach you how to deal in a light way, stern when you need to, but with kindness.
Yeah.
And it's going to be so much easier than you think. And women will follow. No matter what type of woman. It could be the woman that most believes in feminism, and the woman that most believes in whatever. If you did it the right way, God set it up that if you got married, and now live under the same home, God set it up that when you're under His umbrella, He's going to find a way, or He's going to make a way for you to be the leader, a good leader in your home, and the woman will follow.
Yeah,
And it's not like I said earlier, it's always going to be a struggle for women in certain things, as other things are going to be for men. But for women, it's going to be a struggle. Sometimes they're not going to want to. They're going to think, I don't agree with this, or they're going to scream and cry. It's always going to be that way. But at the end of the day, they're going to follow. It's in their nature to do so.
Yeah, and likewise, you know, for a woman who has that relationship with Christ, you know, the most important thing she can do is pray that God, first of all, takes away that spirit of rebellion and that desire to control and manipulate, and just to give you a heart that wants to just love your husband and serve your husband and trust your husband. And
I want to say something about that. And for the men, never be angry at your wife. Never. You don't have an excuse to get angry. I know this is crazy for people to hear, but you don't have an excuse. You just don't. You have to deal with her. She is the weaker vessel, as the Bible says. You have to deal with her with the utmost patience. That means that when you correct her, when you say, this was wrong, you say it the right way, stern. Sometimes you may have to raise your voice, but you never have the right to actually be angry at her, to want to say insulting things, to say, to use physical force against her. You never have that right to actually get angry and act out of anger. You deal with your wives in a good way, in a good manner, in a kind manner. Correct kindly. That's the biggest thing. And I think what happens is that when women see that, they are going to respect you. Your wives see that, they're going to respect you so much more, and they're going to want to follow you. It's in their nature, especially if they see that. If they see that you get emotional and angry at them and you want to beat them up and you start insulting them and throwing things around,
Or just
guess what?
screaming, having a screaming match.
Yeah, guess what's going to happen? They're going to lose some respect for you. And then it's going to be a lot harder for them to follow after. So make sure that you just get rid of the anger. There's no reason to be angry.
Yeah. So as you can hear by the way we're talking, equality is not the end goal in relationships, in marriage at all. It shouldn't be a thought in your mind. It shouldn't, and maybe it has been, and hopefully you start trying to break away from that mindset of thinking this, like, it has to be equal, because equality has nothing to do with love. It has nothing to do. The marriage relationship especially is about, it's this reflection of Christ loving the church, and the church is awesome. It's so valuable for the kingdom of God to fulfill his will and to make disciples, to bring more people into his kingdom and into his body, but it's not equal with Christ. And when you bring compromise into a relationship, a lot of times it's about equality. A lot of times it's about making sure you both have the same amount of authority in the relationship, the same outcome in the same outcome, and that's not what our relationship should be about. That's not real love necessarily. And compromise, just be very wary of compromise.
Yes.
I'll tell you this, compromise is not crucial to a relationship. If you never compromise, your relationship will still be able to thrive, contrary to what this Christian counselor up here said.
And what most Christian counselors,
and we're not counselors, we have whatever, we didn't study this, whatever, but scripture makes it very clear and very plain what marriage is supposed to look like, and God would not tell us that marriage is such a beautiful thing if he didn't want us, or
if he wanted it to be the wrong way, or
exactly
the way that he's laid it out was wrong.
Exactly.
The way he laid it out is so perfect, guys. It's so perfect. And you don't need to mess with it.
And compromise can be an okay thing.
It's not a bad thing.
It has its time and place, but it is not foundational for your marriage at all.
Yeah.
So when people tell you that, when you go to get married, or if you've been telling people that, even like yourselves, just keep in mind, like, that is not what is going to make a marriage or relationship better. It could be nice sometimes, but it is not.
It's gonna make you feel fluffy.
It's
gonna make you feel fluffy when it happens.
Yeah.
It's
I got
not the
a
key.
little bit of what I want.
Yeah.
I always do, and it's so great because we're so equal.
And another thing for the men out there, don't get sucked into thinking that you have to please your wife, and then that's gonna provide joy and peace for her. It's not. Your job is not to make your wife happy. It's not to make your wife happy. And I think what happens is that actually most wives grow contempt for their husband when they realize that their sole job in life is to make their wife happy. You do things for your wife because you love her, right? Mm-hmm. And so I love Soli, and so sometimes I'm like, okay, I want to do this for her. I want to do this for her, or get her this little thing, or just think of her in this way. Say this to her, something that I really mean. But my job in life is not to please her. I'm not going to do something just so she's happy, you know? I might do little things here and there, like just so
Yeah.
she gets more, you know, so she is not as annoyed or something, you know, or to make her life easier. But I'm not going to live my life in a way that I'm just thinking of like, how am I going to make Soli happy? If I lived that way, I'd be miserable. And so would she, by the way, because it's not the way God set it up. You have to be following God first and foremost and caring about that. And then he's going to provide a way for you to be kind and gentle to
Yeah,
your
and
wife.
he does, by the way, he does make me very happy all the time, but it's just because he's just an amazing husband and he does love me so well.
We should hold hands while we'd say
We
this.
should. But I do realize that, you know, those times when decisions are made that don't necessarily make me happy, that, you know, that's not Andre's job, you know? You know, like they say, like, you can't depend on anybody for happiness, even your spouse. And I can't depend on Andre for happiness, and he can't depend on me for happiness. If he depended on me for happiness, then we would be unhappy all the time because, you know, I'm just hormonal sometimes. Anyways.
But
But
once you decouple yourself I think it's much more important for men to hear this, because I think,
puppy love.
yeah, because I would pointed this something out to, maybe we should end with this. I
Yeah.
pointed this out to Soli. We were watching a show, Travelers. Maybe some of you have watched it before. It's on Netflix. It's one of the only shows that doesn't have that much mess inside of that is like a Netflix original. And so we were watching it last night, and the guy said like, oh, like when I saw her walk in the room, like about his wife, she just every single day she took my breath away or something like that. And I said to Soli, women never talk like that about men. They never say that stuff about men, and men do, and I just question that, because I think a lot of the time men just say that because they want to score points with the girls, or because they actually feel that way, which is even worse. Because you're not supposed to be in that puppy love, guys. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with y'all?
Yeah.
You're supposed to just be who you are and love your wife in the right way. I'm not saying like it's not good to cuddle and give little
It is
kisses.
really good to cuddle.
like that stuff is nice. I'm not saying at all that's bad, or getting your wife flowers, that's a bad thing. That stuff is bad. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying that is not foundational. It doesn't matter.
No.
That stuff is fluff. It's not the underlying thing. It's not the reason why she's going to trust you. It's not the reason why she's going to respect you. The reasons why is because you're going to lead the family in the right way. That's the reason why she's going to respect you. And the more you behave like a little puppy that she pets and says, oh, you did a good job every time, she's going to grow a ton of contempt. And you don't want to live that life. You really don't.
Yeah.
So focus on the big things. Don't major on the minor. Focus on leading the family the right way. Get right with God. Follow God. Do things the right way. Don't have sex before you're married. Don't live together before you're married. Date without any sex. Just date the person, you know, see if if you guys want the same things as God. If God is joining you together, if that's happening, get married as soon as you can and do things the right way. I'm telling you, God knows what he's doing. God knows what he is doing. He set it up the right way for a purpose.
And I just want to say that the end goal of relationships is not happiness. Equality just makes people happy. Compromise just makes people happy. The end goal is not happiness, it's holiness. And you know, when you're living in holiness and righteousness and in the life that God has intended for you, you'll have joy. You'll have deep joy that is more than just this puppy love or
And peace too.
exactly. You will
peace.
have peace.
Yeah. So that's what we hope for you guys, for all you guys, that you guys find real joy, which real joy, I think, is peace, you know, everlasting peace. And you can only find that if you have found truth. And we will continue to talk about that. We hope that you guys find it. We hope you guys found this helpful. We're so happy you
Yes.
listen to it. Make sure you share it. And if you're watching on YouTube,
Subscribe.
subscribe, like the video. It helps out a ton. Share with as many people as possible as you think this would be helpful for. And we are Andre and Soli. This podcast is Peace, Love, and Chocolate. We are bringing back the family and traditional values, and I hope that you listen to us next time.
We will see you next time. Thank you.
Bye-bye.